Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 9th of February. Now it's 15 to 1, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with one of the major topics for a day, and I guess for upcoming at least couple of weeks, which is interview of US journalist Tucker Carlson with the president of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. And well, I have little statistics here about that interview. According to TASS news agency, just in first 5 hours, once this interview was uploaded on X, on Tucker Carlson's page on Twitter, it had over 50 million views just in first 5 hours, and over 400,000 likes, almost 500,000 likes, which definitely indicates huge interest of world community towards this interview and towards Russian point of view about some global events, including situation in Ukraine. And well, like a majority of our community, I did listen to that interview, although not on Twitter, on website of Tucker Carlson. And while I was listening to that interview, I was thinking to myself, you know what, veterans and active members of our community most likely would not be surprised to hear anything that Putin said, because during the previous updates on my channel, quite a number of time I did spoke about exactly the topics that was discussed during that interview, including historical events that led to the current situation that we are seeing in Ukraine. How Ukraine was created, how Ukrainian neo-Nazi ideology was implemented on the people that were living in that area, how dishonest and untrustworthy Western ruling class and Western political elite is, how many times they did broke agreements with Moscow. All those topics were discussed in my updates number of times, and well, I'm glad that for many members, especially active members of our community that watch my updates regularly, Putin probably said almost nothing new. But for a world community, of course, this interview will probably be very informative. Many people worldwide will probably learn something that they had no idea, especially when it comes to relationships between Russia and Ukraine, Russia and the Western states. So, well, a great interview, by the way, I will say. A great interview. Putin, probably you did notice that Putin was very polite and very friendly in this interview towards everybody. You could not see any aggression from Putin. Maybe just a disappointment that he is in a situation when basically there is not that many people in the Western political class, political elites, that he can have a decent conversation, serious talk, and I mean, I guess he's really disappointed that Western political class is unable to keep its word and the agreements that they are signing. And Putin did share with the public, with Tucker Carlson, many instances when Western ruling class broke their own agreements. Overall, I believe interview was success. And well, huge interest of public towards this interview definitely confirms that it is success and necessary really to show the world, especially Western world, by the way, Russian point of view on things, on developments. And towards the end of interview, Tucker Carlson did ask directly Russian president about so-called journalist of Wall Street Journal, Evan Gershkovich, who was caught red-handed in Russia, by the way, while he was trying to receive classified information, which is espionage. Like it or not, but when someone is trying, foreigner, by the way, is trying to maintain some classified information, it's a act of espionage. He was arrested, and well, still, by the way, still Putin did not rule out entirely release of this so-called journalist. He said that Russian side made quite a number of steps of goodwill and gestures, but unfortunately Western ruling class was not acting in similar ways, and therefore Moscow basically exhausted its opportunities for its resources to conduct additional goodwill gestures and steps. But still, he did not rule out that this Evan Gershkovich will be released. And who knows, maybe some negotiations between the secret services of Russia and the US is taking place right now, as we speak. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Evan Gershkovich will be pardoned by Russian president and sent to his homeland together with Tucker Carlson. And Carlson is still in Russia, as I understand. So it is possibility. Let's see. But overall, I believe interview was very interesting and very successful. Well done to Tucker Carlson for not being afraid to came to Russia to speak to Russian president, despite obvious knowledge of how badly he will be treated by Western media, so-called media, and Western political class. He knew how badly he will be treated by the Western elites, and he still take this opportunity to have a sit down with the Russian president and discussion on numerous important topics. And well done. I mean, applause to Tucker Carlson. Let's continue with additional news, and of course another major topic of the day, at least for the day, is that Zelensky, president of Ukraine, finally removed from office Zaluzhny, head of general staff, and he appointed a new general on his position, General Alexander Syrsky, who was head of Ukraine's ground forces. If you remember, when this saga began about Zaluzhny and how he's going to be removed and who going to replace him, there was two candidacies that was discussed mainly. One is head of Ukraine's military intelligence, Budanov, and the other is Syrsky. And well, I said from very beginning that if Zaluzhny is removed from office, most likely Syrsky will replace him, because he is loyal to Zelensky. He proved this quite a number of times, and he has some experience, some competency to run general staff. After all, he was head of ground forces. When Budanov is a terrorist, by the way. He's the head of terrorist organization in Ukraine, the so-called military intelligence, and he's not really a general. He has no knowledge, no experience, no competency to run general staff, because one thing is to be head of a terrorist organization and conduct some terrorist acts, and very different stuff is to be head of general staff and be in charge of large-scale military operations, defensive, offensive, be in charge of running entire army, hundreds of thousands of military personnel. So to me it was obvious that most likely Syrski will replace him, and it's become my understanding of situation seems to be correct. Syrski is a new head of general staff, and when it comes to Zaluzhny, former head of general staff, well, at this point not really known, at least officially, what he will do. There are different rumors. According to some, he may be appointed as Ukraine's ambassador in United Kingdom. I did spoke about this possibility also during the previous updates, and well, in my understanding, it is possible that Zaluzhny will be sent to United Kingdom because his security right now conducted by UK Secret Services. Zaluzhny is an asset of UK Secret Services, and to make sure that he's more safe and secure, London may demand from Kiev that Zaluzhny is sent to United Kingdom, or maybe any other country where United Kingdom will be able to protect him better than in Ukraine itself, because when it comes to Ukraine, if Zaluzhny stays in Ukraine, of course he will be in a great danger, because Zelensky's camp most likely will try to take him out, to assassinate him. Because it is obvious that only person who can challenge Zelensky, politically speaking, for example, in potential presidential elections that may take place in Ukraine later on this year, it's Zaluzhny. And when it comes to possible elections in Ukraine, I think Western ruling class has a plan to prevent Zelensky from continuing martial law in Ukraine. Zelensky may be allowed to prolong martial law once again towards end of March, and that's it. After that, Zelensky most likely wouldn't be able to prolong martial law. Therefore, his legitimacy will begin being questioned, and most likely presidential elections will be held in Ukraine. And in that case, it is obvious that Zaluzhny most likely will receive majority of votes. And even if not, Western ruling class will make sure that Zaluzhny will be declared the winner and he will replace Zelensky. That's a possibility. Let's see how things develop. But it is highly likely that London will try to remove Zaluzhny from United Kingdom from Ukraine for the time being, just to make sure that UK Secret Services are in better position to protect him for further use. They don't care about Zaluzhny. All they care is how to use those puppets of theirs in Ukraine. And if Zelensky is a used condom, let's say, and cannot be used much longer because it's just not safe, let's say this way, Zaluzhny is, you know, in political terms, Zaluzhny as a politician is a new condom and can be used. That's a reality on the ground, by the way. So that's approach of the Western ruling class towards these puppets that are thinking that they are running show in Ukraine. But whatever the case, we will see. RIA Novosti's report that well, Syrski did become head of general staff, but by the way, not everybody is happy about this change in Ukraine. And after all, one should remember that he is called Butcher and General 200. And 200, by the way, means death. On the front line, killed individual is designated as a 200, and wounded the soldier designated as a 300. If you ever hear in videos 200 or 300, if video is about combat, you clearly know straight away that 200 means someone was killed, 300 means someone was wounded. And that's nicknames of Syrskyi, Butcher and General 200, because it was he in charge of Bakhmut operation when he, under orders of basically Zelensky, sacrificed tens of thousands of Ukrainian military personnel for basically undefendable city that Bakhmut was, undefendable for Ukrainian units. And I guess Zelensky and Syrskyi will try to sacrifice additional thousands and thousands of soldiers right now in Avdiivka. Although things for Ukrainian units in Avdiivka are deteriorating on daily basis, and I don't know how long they will be able to withstand this pressure from Russian forces, and how long defense lines of Ukrainian units in Avdiivka will hold. They may collapse at any point. According to latest reports, by the way, Russian forces are very close to cut that main supply and support road from northern industrial zone, from that chemical plant, to the central and the southern eastern parts of Avdiivka. And if Russian forces will cut that road, then, well, basically, battle for Avdiivka is effectively over, because Ukrainian units will have no supply and support lines, and they will not even have a more or less secure ways to retreat, only through the fields that are under Russian artillery control. But whatever the case, as I said, not everybody is happy with this appointment of Syrskyi, but one should understand London and Washington, of course, they knew that Kiev regime awaits very bad news from a front line in upcoming days and weeks and months, and therefore to remove Zaluzhny from heat and criticism that will follow this defeats on the front line, well, Zaluzhny was removed, most likely will be sent to United Kingdom or somewhere, and well, Zelensky will become Zelensky also, by the way, and Syrskyi, new head of general staff, will become scapegoat. That's how it is. But anyway, let's continue with some other news, and very important also news that yesterday evening exchange of POWs took place between Russian and Ukrainian forces, and both sides freed 100 POWs. Well, this is good development, of course, good development. Second exchange of POWs in last 2 weeks, which is good, of course. RIA Novosti's report that State Department did not exclude that military equipment that US received and will receive from Ecuador will be sent to Kiev regime. What a surprise! What a surprise! We didn't know that US will send those weapons to Ukraine. Well, whenever you see information that Ecuadorian government is crying that Russia imposed some sanctions and Russia no longer importing bananas, flowers, just about anything from Ecuador, and how unfair Russia is acting, keep in mind that current government of Ecuador positioned this country as an enemy of Russia, as a hostile state to Russia, by transferring weapons, Russian-made weapons, by the way, transferring those weapons illegally without Moscow's permission to Washington. And Ecuador lost already and will lost in upcoming years as a result of this step of government of this state billions. And let's see if Washington will compensate that, if Washington will give Ecuador those billions. I don't think so, but you know, let's see. RIA Novosti's report, and society in Ecuador should think, I mean, little more. What kind of people they are supporting there? Are they want to be prosperous country and society, or they want to be just another colony of Washington and without any bright future? Because Ecuador had the chance to be very close to BRICS. And BRICS and multipolar world is the future. But government of Ecuador made very strange decisions, and well, they will pay now for that. RIA Novosti's report that, well, Russian Central Election Committee finalized all the paperwork that was transferred to this institution by candidates for presidency, people that were, you know, wanted to participate in this election. And well, final results are that on ballots there will be 4 names for upcoming presidential elections. Elections themselves will take place from 15th to 17th of March 2024, and well, these 4 people are current president of Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, also Leonid Slutsky, a representative of LDPR party, Liberal Democrat Party of Russia, also Vladislava Davankova, she's from a party of New People, and also Nikolai Kharitonov. Nikolai Kharitonov is from presidential candidate from Communist Party of Russian Federation. So there will be these 4 names on the ballots, and well, rest of the wannabe president people, they can, you know, they can take a cold water to calm themselves down and prepare for next presidential elections. They may be a little lucky then. And by the way, a Central Election Committee dismissed a number of potential candidates because their paperwork was conducted with mistakes. For example, in paperwork of this individual here, what is his name, man? Boris Nadezhdin. In his paperwork, some dead people was found as a supporters. All candidates have to bring to Central Election Committee number of documents that they have support from, I don't know, it's up to 100,000. They're supposed to have at least 60 to 100,000 supporters, I believe, and to be eligible to participate in elections. And when this individual, Boris Nadezhdin, and his camp brought some paperwork, there was bunch of mistakes in those paperworks. I did saw some video, and this individual acknowledged, while he was speaking with the representatives of this Central Election Committee, he acknowledged that they made some banal mistakes while working on those papers, and well, he didn't really protest. I don't know, maybe after he was excluded from those ballots, maybe he will start acting strange and not really adequately. I would not be surprised at all, but I saw what I saw on the video, and he was upset, but he was acknowledging that yes, there were mistakes, and not just mistakes, by the way. In his paperwork, some dead people was fine. You know, so this is not a mistake. This is intentional stuff, isn't it? They intentionally faked documents. And how you gonna be? How dare you to pretend on the post of president if you are unable to, if you don't even have like 60,000 supporters, man, and if you are forced to, like, or if you're willing to fake documents to receive this paperwork. It's crazy, man. But Western media most likely will go crazy on this topic, and they will try to pretend that this Boris Nadezhdin is a major opposition candidate, and Putin's regime is removing major opposition candidate from election and that kind of nonsense. When, by the way, I don't know, man, if he was even in ballots, maybe he will receive like 0.5% of votes, maybe 1% of votes. Okay, 5, let's be generous, man, 5% of votes. Let's be super generous, 10% of votes, man, which is total nonsense. It cannot be, but let's be too generous, man. Even 15%, let's give him that. And what? And what, man? But Western ruling class, oh, they're gonna use this situation, of course, to conduct this smear campaign and this BS propaganda that some major opposition candidate was removed. When, by the way, these 4 candidates, okay, one is Putin, he's the most popular candidate, most popular politician, not just in Russia, but worldwide. We all know that. But when it comes to these 3 others, Leonid Slutsky, most likely he will receive much more votes than Nadezhdin will ever be able to, because LDPR has quite a strong following, by the way. Traditionally, this party is constantly in the parliament because they have this huge following. Also, Vladislava Davanskaya, I don't know who is she, by the way. I know that this New People's Party is in parliament represented. This is relatively new party, and well, somehow they did manage to attract support of public, some percentage of public, and well done to them. I mean, well, great. They are doing great for a new party, and well, their candidate Vladislava Davankova, maybe she will receive, I don't know, 1, 2. Let's be generous, man. Let's give her 5% or 10%. But this is going to be a huge experience for a new party. That's the main thing. Of course, they knew perfectly well that they are not in competition with the Putin, but it's a great experience to participate in the presidential elections. And when it comes to Nikolai Kharitonov, most likely, by the way, most likely he will be on the 2nd place. That's a major opposition candidate, if you really want to know. Nikolai Kharitonov is a representative of Communist Party, and Communist Party has a massive following in Russia, still, by the way. After all, Soviet Union collapsed just like 30 years ago. And many people are still regretting that Soviet Union collapsed, and they are in support of Communist Party. And just mark my word, by the way, in elections, well, first will be Putin, of course. He will receive at least 60-65% of votes, in my opinion, at least. Nikolai Kharitonov from Communist Party will be on the 2nd. He will receive, I don't know, they are quite popular, man. He may receive 10-15% of votes. It is possible that he will receive 10-15% of the votes. Let's be generous again, and let's give him 20%, which is, I mean, 20%, well, I don't know about that, but, you know, but anyway, he will be 2nd, I'm quite sure about it, candidate from Communist Party. Slutsky will be 3rd because he is a representative of LDPR. He is a quite known public figure in Russia. And, well, Vladislava Davankova, she will be on 4th place. But yet again, for her, even if she will receive, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 5% of the votes, I think she and her party will be happy with that result, because yet again, this is new party, relatively new party, and they already are represented in the parliament, and now they have opportunity to use this presidential election, presidential campaign for reaching out to even wider community, and well, I guess whatever support they're gonna receive, they're gonna be happy with it, because of this unique opportunity to advertise themselves and reach out to wider community. But they will be on the 4th place. That's how it's gonna be, man. Mark my words. But Western ruling class gonna, you know, push this narrative that somehow this Boris Nadezhdin, man, is a major opposition candidate, man. Come on, yo. Just because he's open, he's against war and he's against this and he's a liberal. And by the way, if you ask me, Putin is a liberal. Compared to me, Putin is a liberal. Because I would act very differently, yo. But these ones, I mean, these ones that trying to please Western ruling class with their statements, quite often anti-Russian statements. Oh man, these people, man, will never gain support of Russian society. Never. I'm not gonna use strong words. I mean, everybody has right to believe in whatever they want to believe. But these people, man, these people resembles to me 90s. They remind me 90s, man. And 90s was a total disaster for former Soviet republics. For Russia, I was in Georgia at the time, and for Georgia, for every republic of former Soviet Union, 90s was total disaster. And these guys remind me 90s, man. Era of Gorbachev, even before Soviet Union collapsed, man. This Gorbachev, that disgusting individual. Shevardnadze, also disgusting individual. Of course, Gorbachev was a first and last president of USSR, and Shevardnadze was a foreign minister in USSR. And then in Russia there was Yeltsin, and these type of individuals were around Yeltsin. And they almost destroyed, by the way, Russia. They destroyed Soviet Union and almost destroyed Russia. So now you know why these type of people will never gain any significant support in Russia, man. Never, ever. It's just not possible. And also they are associated with the West, with the Western ruling class. And, well, if anybody is associated with the Western ruling class, then they are doomed to fail straight away, because vast majority here in Russia well enough informed to understand that Western ruling class is enemy of Russia. And if you are affiliated with enemy, you are done. Even if you don't have any direct connection with the enemy. But if you are affiliated with them, if you are a potential tool in the hands of enemy, you are done. And I see these people, this type of people, exactly as a potential tool in hands of Western ruling class. Therefore, nowhere I will ever even think about voting for this type of people, man. No. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti report here that, well, by the way, Biden, second time in the week, talked to dead people. Well, first time he shared his experience of talking with the dead people several days ago. And he said that he was discussing something with Mitterrand, I believe, he said. And now, second time he made a statement that he had a talk with Helmut Kohl, former Chancellor of Germany, who is also long dead. And, well, who knows with whom he gonna talk tomorrow, man, Biden. This is such a shame for US, man. If I was US citizen, I would be shamed, really, man. If this individual was my president, man, I'm such a shame, man. Unbelievable. And what is even worse, by the way, these shadow forces that are really running the show in the US, they're still using this and abusing basically this elderly. By positioning him as a, at least for now, as a front runner for a Democrat party, which is, I mean, just unbelievable, man. Entire world is watching and probably are in shocked with this abuse of elderly by these true rulers of the West, let's say, or US. RIA Novosti's report that Putin, well, while Biden is talking with the dead people, President of Russian Federation is talking with major leaders of this world, and well, he had a phone call with Chinese leader Xi Jinping, and they discuss Ukraine, they discuss Middle East, according to official statement of press service of the Kremlin, and I believe many other topics were also discussed during that phone call, of course, and well, great. Yesterday during the interview, Putin interview with Tucker Carlson, Putin was asked about Chinese dominance in the BRICS, and if Russia feels threatened by Chinese dominance, and Putin did spoke about relationships with China, and he highlighted that China and Russia has a long history of relationships. Border between countries are over 1,000 kilometers, and historically speaking, China and Russia was almost always managing to have good, friendly working relationships. There were some exceptions during the Soviet era, by the way, of course. There was some even military confrontation on Amur River between Soviet forces and the Chinese forces. But well, after that, and especially after Soviet Union collapsed, the relationships between Russia and China are on a good terms, and well, Putin highlighted that he is not really see China as a threat. It's exactly the opposite. He sees China as a partner, and he has every reason to think so, because after all, Chinese foreign policy is not as aggressive as Western foreign policy. That's a big stuff. And secondly, well, I may be a little more cautious, and in my opinion, best way to make sure that relationships between Russia and China are in good order is to have a great relationships with India also, and and vice versa, by the way, for India to make sure that relationships with China are in good working condition is a best way to make sure it will be in good shape. That relationships is to maintain strategic relationships with Russia. And if you take a look at the map, you will see what I mean. So yes, China is huge. The Chinese economy is like 3 times bigger than Russia's and India's combined, and will continue to grow. Although yet again, world stability based not just on and stability in the relationships based not just on economical topics, although economy plays huge, massive role, of course, but there are some other topics also. And I don't think any country ever will dare to fight Russia directly from the from the major countries in this world, because well, Russia has nukes, by the way. It is what it is. Russia has enough nukes to obliterate any country in this world like 100 times, and then do it another 100 or 200 times again. So it is what it is. But still good working relationships with China is a strategic direction, which is great. But simultaneously, Moscow has great relationships with New Delhi. And I believe both countries, China, Russia and India, understood that strategic level of relationships between each other is the best way to go forward, to make sure that region is stable, to make sure that region is safe and secure, and there is no misunderstandings between the regional countries, let's say this way. So yes, it's great that Putin and Xi Jinping had a talk, and well, these relationships will only, hopefully, will only develop even in better ways. Also, TASS news agencies report that Finland does not expect attack from Russia, but sees Moscow as a threat. This was stated by Foreign Minister of Finland, Elina Valtonen. This is, I believe, second time in the last few weeks when high-ranking officials from Finland are basically saying the same. Prime Minister of Finland made a similar statement. Now Foreign Minister of Finland, that they don't see from Russia any threats, because there is no any threats, by the way. There is nothing to see there. And they are basically forced to acknowledge the true objective reality. There is no any threat from Russia to Finland, and never was. And therefore they are forced to acknowledge that, you know what, there is no threat from Russia, but there are no threat of attack from Russia, but still there is some threats. What threats, for God's sake? But because no one is challenging these high-ranking officials in the Western states, there is no follow-up questions. What you are talking about? You are saying in one hand that Russia is not planning to attack and do some harm to you. And on the other hand, you are saying that there is threat from Russia. What you are talking about? What threat? What? But, well, I guess pressure is rising inside the Finland from society, because people most likely are not really happy that Finland, that they know, that was neutral and had great relationships with everybody, now become a hostile country to Russia, to its neighbor, which they did not see as a hostile state. I mean, I don't think Finnish citizens see Russia as an enemy and Russians as an enemy. I don't think so. I think vast majority wants to have a good, friendly relationships with Russia, which is absolutely normal, and same for Russians. Of course, we want good, friendly relationships with Finnish people, man. And there is no reason why should we don't be friendly to each other. I mean, what the hell? And I guess because of this reality, Finnish government is under more increased pressure to justify their crazy policies. Why they are escalating with Moscow, why they are shutting down borders, why they are destroying businesses that were interconnected, why they are destroying social fabric in Finland itself. How are they going to justify it? They're going to say, you know, there is threat from Moscow, and there is threat from Moscow, and threat, and but simultaneously they are forced to acknowledge that, well, when it comes to concrete evidence, there is no evidence that Russia is planning to attack Finland or any other country, by the way, in Scandinavia or in EU in general, you know. Also interesting news that India and China trade hits a record high. I just spoke about how important it is to have a good relationships between Russia and China, between India and China, and that's a prime example that relationships are moving forward in a good way. And well, trade between India and China has hit a historical high of 136.2 billion. Beijing's envoy in the New Delhi stated, well, if you take into account how big India and China is in terms of economical potential, in terms of economies, and in terms of population, by the way, of course, 136 billion is it's peanuts. But still, main thing is that well, trade between countries is increasing, and when it's a trade, it's relationships between the people also in the play, and more people are communicating, more reasons they have to get rid of any misunderstandings and to become more friendlier, and it's all good, man. It's all good. And we should always remember, by the way, the Russia, China, India South Africa and Brazil creating now foundation, and other BRICS member states now, by the way, new ones that joined from and will join from 1st January of this year. We should always keep in mind that these countries, by the way, creating foundation of a future world, future multipolar world, which hopefully will be much more just than world that we experienced under total dominance of the Western ruling class. Anyway, let's continue. Artists report that EU fears trade war if Trump re-elected, according to Bloomberg's article, and well, EU officials may have a reason to be afraid of, because well, in some articles based on interviews with the Trump campaign insiders, Bloomberg reported that there are some people in the Trump's camp who said that Trump may consider to impose a minimum 10% tariff on imports from EU. And another proposal involves retaliation from US against Europe for taxes imposed by Brussels on digital services in the past several years, which have targeted US-based tech giants such as Meta and Amazon. So, well, most likely these high-ranking officials in Brussels that spoke to Bloomberg, most likely they are correct. And if Trump is elected, and most likely that's what's gonna happen, well, he already proved that he is not afraid of tariff wars or escalating with their or competition, let's say. And he imposed severe tariffs on China while he was in charge, president of US several years ago, and he may definitely check Brussels also, because of the unfriendly steps that Brussels did take against US. But anyway, let's continue. Artists report that Kremlin warns Germany over expropriation of Russian assets. The nationalization of Rosneft's assets in the Germany would be seen in Russia as a confiscation, a step which would have far-reaching consequences. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov warned on Thursday. His statement follows a media report that the German authorities are discussing taking their German leadership is discussing to basically nationalize assets of Russian Rosneft in Germany that are basically under trustship since 2022. So if Germany will nationalize Russian assets, in this case assets of Rosneft, then, well, according to Kremlin, it will have far-reaching consequences, and most likely Russia will do the same with some German assets in Russia, which is no good for business, of course, when these type of steps are taken. But well, Russian leadership cannot just lay back and watch how Russian assets have been stolen by other countries, isn't it? They have to act, and they will, most likely. Artists report that US, by the way, bought record amount of Russian uranium in 2023. Interesting, isn't it? They're constantly talking about sanctions, and at the same time, just in 2023, US buy 1.2 billion USD worth of Russian uranium. Okay. Russia received 1.2 billion US just for uranium. Great news for Russia, by the way. And I guess for US also, because they are dependent on Russian uranium. That's a reality. That's how it is. And I don't think this dependence will change anytime soon. It's just Western societies will not know about it. All they will know is that how tough Washington and Brussels is on Moscow and how they cut any supplies of anything from Russia. But in reality, you know, things are quite different. But anyway, I will end this update now, if I may. Quite a long update, but hopefully you will find it interesting. And if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about anything. More likes and comments will definitely help to reach wider audience and deal with the algorithm, especially with the extremely aggressive YouTube's algorithm. Well, for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel from YouTube, Rumble, on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you think this small media project of mine with several channels, with several programs is interesting, useful, informative, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.